Well, we were all originally born in Denver and lived there for about 10 or 11 years, and my dad was transferred to Seattle. We lived there for a couple years, but my family really has been in New Mexico since probably December of 1969, and we've been here ever since, and went to basically middle school, high school, college, and graduate school in New Mexico, but that's been my experience here, but New Mexico's home. I had looked at a number of universities to play football at. During my recruiting visit, I had a great experience with Dr. Fred Downs, who was the dean of the business college at one point in time down there. He spent the day with me as I went down for my recruiting visit, as did the person who was heading up the journalism college at that time. I was trying to decide which major I wanted to pursue, and I think by virtue of the time that I spent with everybody down there, the players and the folks in both the business college and the College of Journalism, that's what helped me make my decision. It seemed like the place that I wanted to go. It was close enough to home, yet it was far enough away from home. You know, with anybody who comes from a high school background and tries to make that leap to college sports, I don't think a lot of kids are prepared for that. And I think the first thing for me when I arrived at New Mexico State is just the difference in the level of play and the talent that you're put with every single day. When I went to New Mexico State, I found there was a lot of competition, and it just had to make me force myself to work a lot harder. I think the real epiphany for me was right after the first month that I was there. I got a letter from my father, and he knew it wasn't going well, and he knew I was unhappy. And he said something to the effect in the letter that, hey, if you're really unhappy down there, I can go over to UNM and I can talk to the coaches over there and you can come home. And it was at that point I decided, you know what, you've never fought my battles for me. You're not going to start now. I'll figure this out and I'll make it work. When I moved to New York originally, I had a lot of people look at me with crossed eyes and say, well, how did you get here from New Mexico? And it's just not the environment that you see anybody from New Mexico State University in, with a lot of the Ivy League people or people who went to school on the East Coast. I guess I always looked at it that New Mexico State prepared me across the board. The folks that I learned from, the things that I was required to do, and the classes that I took really made me a generalist in the business world. And generalists are what I think business needs. Harvard, Stanford, New Mexico State, you're an equal. You have the pedigree, and then the pedigree is the degree. It's not where you go. Hey, John, go out and get the best job you can get, making the most money you can make, and pursue this sports thing on the side, because if it happens, good for you. But if it doesn't, at least when you're out there getting some experience in the business world, you have something to offer somebody. And that was the best advice that I had. One thing led to another, and I did get the job at the commissioner's office at Major League Baseball. But the thing that helped me the most in the interview is that I had spent some time already at Texas Instruments. I had been working in the home computer division, and that was in the days when TI had a machine called the TI 99/4A, and our primary competitor was Commodore. And during the interview process, all these people and all these executives at Major League Baseball wanted to talk about home computers and not about anything else. So I was really prepared for the interview, and the interview was entirely directed towards something that I knew a lot about, and it wasn't necessarily about the sports. It was about what I was doing and what I was doing in business that got me the job. I'm in charge of negotiating all the contracts that we have with sports teams, professional sports teams in the country, both on the local level and the team side and at the league level. So if we have a negotiation with the Atlanta Braves or the Atlanta Falcons or the Denver Broncos, that would be something that I would be in charge of, across the country. if we have a negotiation with the NBA or the NHL or the NFL, those are things that will fall under my purview in terms of actually negotiating the contract on behalf of the company and turning it over to the marketers to make the properties come alive. I actually met Diane in the fall of '79. I was a senior, my senior year of football at New Mexico State, and she had come in as a freshman on a basketball scholarship. So I knew her for about 3 years. She was playing basketball for those 3 years. I had finished playing football that first year and then was coaching the last 2. And 3 years after we met, basically, then we dated, and I actually left and moved off to Texas Instruments for a while and then to New York. She still had another year and a half to finish at New Mexico State, and she finished her basketball career there and then ultimately moved home to California. She was from California. When I had completed my time at the baseball commissioner's office in New York, I got a job offer from the Miller Brewing Company in Milwaukee to start working in sports marketing, and she moved to Milwaukee, and the rest is history. My first reaction was, why me? I didn't quite know what I had done, to deserve the honor. Didn't know much about the process, but I really thought, why me? And how did it all come together, and how did it all happen? But ultimately, try to carry the banner of the university with me wherever I've gone. Hopefully, come back at some point in time and be able to offer something, really be able to have something to offer that was tangible, that folks could take and hopefully build on for themselves if I influenced their life in any way by virtue of the career decisions that I've made. I think the overarching statement I would make to all of them is, be flexible. You're not going to go out from New Mexico State University and find your perfect situation. At one point in time in my career, I was very flexible, and I was willing to do what anybody asked me to do. And I think the biggest thing that I see with students right now is that a lot of students aren't willing to do anything they're asked to do. Case in point, I had a really nice job at Texas Instruments. I moved to New York for a $10,000 pay cut. When the commissioner's secretary came around at 4 o'clock and wanted somebody to get the commissioner's car, I didn't sit there and say, well, I got an MBA, I'm not going to do that. I did it. And so by virtue of that, you have to be flexible. You got to be willing to take the jobs, and you got to be willing to do what anybody asks you to do. You'll get your chance, but if you don't do the base work, and if you're not willing to just do and be flexible with whatever requests you have or whatever opportunities come your way, it'll be really hard, because I think a lot of people right now are trying to find the Holy Grail. I'm going to find my first job out of here and it's going to be the best. It's never that way. I didn't want to go to a big school that I was just going to be a number. I wanted to go somewhere where I was actually going to be able to be a part of what was going on, have some real interface with the people who were teaching the classes and really training you for your future, so to speak. And I think the NMSU experience was great for me just from that standpoint. It was a big enough school, but it was a small enough school that you weren't going to be lost. But I think New Mexico State offers everything and anything that anybody would be looking for. I think you're going to get a quality education there, because you're going to be able to be a part of what goes on. You're going to be able to interface with the faculty on a one-on-one basis, as opposed to what you might see at some other universities.